Happy Easter,
Happy
everyone.
Easter.
It's Easter Sunday.
It is.
And
yes.
today is the day we finally get to take a look behind the thick curtain in the tabernacle.
Wow.
We've had the holy place, and we've talked about that, and now we're going to look into the most holy place. But before we look into the most holy place, we're going to talk about this separation a little bit. So we're going to read from the book of Exodus. So kids at home, if you can grab your Bibles and open them up to the book of Exodus. We're going to start with Exodus 26 verses 31 to 33. Now I'll read them out loud for you. Exodus 26, 31 to 33. Across the inside of the temple hang a special curtain made of fine linen with cherubim skillfully embroidered into the cloth using blue, purple, and scarlet yarn. Hang this inner curtain on gold hooks set into 4 posts made from acacia wood and overlaid with gold. The posts were fit into silver bases. When the inner curtain is in place, put the Ark of the Covenant behind it. This curtain will separate the holy place from the most holy place. So what does the word holy really mean? We've talked about it a lot.
Pure.
It's not pure. What else?
One.
At one? No, because it's somehow, it's not one, is it?
Special.
It's
Separated.
special and it's separated. Yeah, exactly. So this is a separated place. It means special, separated, holy, one of a kind.
One
right?
of a kind.
One of a kind.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So this tabernacle is a special place, right? It's all holy. So we've got here what made this kind of separated holy. What made this holy? What are the 3 pieces of furniture in there? Can you remember?
The lampstand.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
The table of showbread.
Oh yeah.
And the altar of incense.
Exactly. Those 3 things. And who went in this area?
The priests.
The priest. And when the priest stands in here, there we have a little priest.
Hello.
Huh? And he would stand, we'll stand him up in front of the golden altar there.
Man, he's pretty small.
That's where he would stand to pray. He looks small, but if that was a normal man, this would just mean that this curtain is really big.
Oh yeah.
And so this curtain hung there, and it was thick, probably thicker than a winter blanket.
What?
And it was high, yep. And it was like that so that when the priest stood there, he couldn't see through.
No.
Because this is the holy place, and this is the most holy place. And it says in the Bible, in Leviticus 16, I won't read it, but you can look at it later. Leviticus 16, 32 to 34 says that the high priest could only enter the most holy place once a year.
What?
Yep.
One
only once a year.
person, only one time a year?
Yes. And he had to wash his whole body and put on special clothing. Then he had to make an offering at this bronze altar and take some of the blood from the offering, some of the coals from the fire, and then he had to go and take incense from the golden altar before he could go through the curtain and meet with God, because that was the space in the most holy place where they met with God, but only once a year.
Only once a year.
Only once a year. That's right. And so this special holiday is still celebrated. They don't make sacrifices anymore, but the Jewish people still celebrate this holiday called Yom Kippur. It's like their New Year's Day, and it's also called the Day of Atonement.
Ah, I know this word. That was the big word from last time.
That's right. And what did it mean?
Becoming at one.
Becoming
yeah.
at one with who?
God.
God,
Exactly.
yes,
The
yes,
people and God were becoming one again. God was making a way through the priest that he could come in and repair that relationship between God and the people. And he had to have the coal and the blood and the incense in order to do that. That's really fascinating, but we won't look into it too deeply. But that priest had to go all by himself, and then he would go through this thick curtain into the most holy place. And when he was there, he could see the last 2 pieces of furniture. So Buddy's gonna get the box. Thanks, Buddy. And we're gonna open it up and see the second last piece of furniture
You're going to help me, Adam?
Sure.
in the tabernacle.
What? There are 4 pieces in there.
There's 4 pieces, but only one of them is furniture. Adam, can you pull out the ark for me, please?
That looks like a box.
There's the ark. And then we have a pot, a golden pot that would have had manna in it. Then we have some golden tablets.
That looks like books.
Yep, the 10 Commandments.
And that's like a stick.
And a stick, a rod. That was Aaron's rod. Okay, so let's think about this box here. It was a wooden box covered with gold. Like a lot of the furniture here was made with wood and covered with gold. And the poles were never taken out of it. And it's called an ark. When you think of the word ark, what do you think of?
Boat.
A boat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Who went into that boat?
Noah.
Noah and
No.
all the animals.
That's right. Noah and the animals went into the ark. Why?
So that he could be saved.
So he could be saved from what?
The flood.
From the flood. Exactly. So God saved 8 people in the ark from the flood. And this is an ark, but it's not full of animals.
No,
It's
and we don't fit in there either.
You would never fit in
No,
there. No, it's
that's
far
too small, right?
It would have been the size of a coffee table, probably, right?
No,
Yeah,
I don't
you might
fit in
fit
there.
in a coffee table.
Maybe.
But Adam couldn't fit in a coffee table. So here inside this ark, we have, instead of people, we have 3 items. And the 3 items were supposed to remind the people of what God was doing. All right, so these are reminders. So first we have the laws of God. These are the 10 Commandments, and they were to show the people that they could obey God and learn to love each other. But it's not easy to follow all of God's commandments all the time. We'll put them in the ark.
Yeah.
Okay, so the 10 Commandments, a new way for the Israelites of doing things. Then we have this golden pot of manna. We're going to put that in here too. Manna.
What is that?
Manna is a special bread, and it means, what is it?
Ha!
Yeah, because when the Israelites first saw it, they had no idea what it was, and everybody said manna, 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 manna. And that meant, what is it? And so the bread became called manna. And it would have tasted like honey, and every morning they would go out and just gather enough for the day. They couldn't save it overnight,
No.
or it would go all moldy and rotten, and it smelled apparently really bad. So they could only take what they needed for that one day. And do you know how they got that bread?
Fell from the sky.
It fell from the
Really?
sky. Yes, that's right. It came overnight. And they got it because they grumbled and complained.
Oh, that's not very nice.
No, it's not. But they said God brought them out to the wilderness to kill them there.
Oh,
God would never do that, would he?
no.
But they didn't trust him.
Huh?
But he provided them with the bread anyway because he knew that they needed it. And so that is a reminder that God always provides everything they need, the pot of manna. Next we have the rod. This is a very special rod. It belonged to Aaron. I mean, this is just plastic, but the real one that went in the 10 Commandments belonged to Aaron. There he is. Do you remember who were the people who worked in the tabernacle? Do you remember?
The Levites?
Yes, the Levites, the Levite family. And Aaron was one of the Levites. And so, as the leader of the Levites, he had a special rod. All the leaders of all the tribes had special rods. And this was Aaron's rod. And one day, the people of Israel were not happy with the fact that the Levites got to do all the work in the temple.
Are you saying they complained again?
Yes, they complained again.
Oh, no.
They did. They complained again because they weren't happy that God had chosen the Levites instead of somebody else. So Moses was really frustrated, and God said, Moses, get the staffs from each of the tribes of Israel, from their leaders. How many tribes were there in Israel?
12.
12. So how many sticks did Moses have?
12.
12. And the heads of the families had to carve their names onto their staff so that everybody knew which was which. And then Moses took all 12 staffs and put them in front of the Ark of the Covenant overnight.
What?
What do you think happened the next day?
One of them looked different.
One of them looked different, exactly. Adam knows the story.
Oh.
One of them looked different when Moses went in and he took all 12 staffs, brought them out to the people of Israel, and one of them, Levi's, had not just started to grow leaves, but it grew flowers and almonds as well.
That is unbelievable.
Like a tree. But then God said to Moses, I have chosen Aaron out of everyone else. And it's obvious because his staff is different than everybody else's.
Well, I can see that.
So that had to go into the ark as well eventually. And then the whole ark with everything. And there's one more piece. We'll see that next week. But this went into the most holy place. There we have it.
Oh, it's in there.
Yep. In the most holy place. So God has given us this Ark of the Covenant. It doesn't save us.
No.
No. But it's got pictures in it of pointing the way of how we can be saved. Interesting, hey? It sounds kind of complicated. We can't get into the ark, but we can let God change us on the inside. A little bit like the inside there is changed, right? And we can become like an ark that God can use with 3 different things inside. So each of those things actually points to one person. Who do you think it is?
Jesus.
Jesus, that's right. Each of those items points to Jesus. The law, the manna, and the staff. So let's look at that. First, we can see that Jesus is the only one who could fill the whole law of God, right? Jesus was perfect. He filled God's whole law. And Jesus is also the bread of life. Jesus tells us that he is the bread of life that came down from heaven, right? Just like the manna. And then finally, Jesus is the one that God chose to be our high priest. It tells us that in the New Testament as well. And Jesus as our staff was a very ordinary man, wasn't he? Nobody said anything really special about what he looked like. He was an ordinary looking man, but on the first Easter, what happened?
He rose from the dead.
He rose from the dead, exactly. So when he's alive and he wants to live his life through us. So the ark and the contents point us to Jesus and the new life that he wants to live through us. We can't fulfill God's laws all by ourselves, can we?
No.
No. But Jesus fulfills them all. He fills our deep down needs, like the bread, right? We need what we need to live. And he is also the chosen one that we're asked to follow, like the rod. And so we can let him live his life through us. And Galatians 2:20 tells us a little bit about that. So Adam will read Galatians 2 verse 20. Galatians is in the New Testament.
I myself no longer live, but Christ lives in me. So I live my life in this earthly body by trusting in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me.
So that's our Easter message, that Jesus gave himself for us and we can trust him, just like God asked the Israelites to trust him. And we can be the ark then, when we choose to be filled with Jesus and let God provide everything we need through him. So that's our lesson, our first lesson in the most holy place.
That's pretty good.
I'm glad you liked it.
I want to be like an ark.
Yeah?
Filled with good stuff.
Filled with good stuff.
Yeah.
So that's something that Jesus does for us when we ask him to come into our hearts and live.
That's great.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.